All right. Hello and good morning. Good evening. Today's the YouTube, X, and Instagram Live for me. It's April 24th, and for America, April 23rd. So thank you everyone for joining. I have a number of super chats from last week that that we didn't get to, unfortunately. So I'm going to mix those in as well. And we have a couple other super chats that have come in also. So I'm going to put those first, and then we'll get to as many questions as we can on top of that. And so hopefully we can get to everything that we missed last week, and then all the ones that we got from this week as well. I'm trying to see how to get this up on Instagram. It's just having a bit of a problem. See what I can do here. Sorry, I'm just going to try to mess around with the settings and see if that works. Well, we either get it or we don't. But okay, we'll start with the first one here. So a question from Ellie. Thank you for the super chat. Water close to meals, does water close to meals dilute stomach acid? Yeah, it probably would. So it's I tend to avoid drinking water during a meal, certainly. And I try to not drink too much water before a meal. Some people go as far as not drinking water 2 hours before and after a meal. And that certainly was a prior recommendation, from like Dr. J.H. Salisbury back in the 1800s when they was doing just a meat-only diet. That's what he recommended to people, was just avoid water for 2 hours before and after. Certainly for people with gastric sleeves or some sort of band, or where they limit the volume of the stomach, you should really avoid water within a couple hours of eating, because you're gonna cut out the space that is available for food, and you need the food, because unfortunately now there's not enough food to get the right amount of nutrients. You're gonna have to eat multiple times a day generally, and it's not something you don't want to fill it up with water first and then not have as much room. So yeah. Okay, so super chat from Nav. Thank you very much. You say lower fat intake if you get diarrhea during carnivore, but aren't you supposed to wait and let your body get fat adapted? So this is one of two. There we go. And if you do lower your fat intake, wouldn't that mess up the fat to protein ratio that you need to get, assuming you were getting the right ratio initially? So the thing is, it's not necessarily about the ratio that's important. It's about getting enough protein for your needs and enough fat for your needs as well. That tends to get a ratio of about 1 to 1 grams of fat to protein to 2 to 1 grams of fat to protein. That's just something that we've observed, but you still just need enough fat and enough protein. If all else is, if you are only eating meat and only drinking water, and you're not taking any medications that can cause loose stools, you're not drinking coffee or tea, you're not taking in any artificial sweeteners, you're not taking any magnesium supplements, those can loosen up your stools. If you're not doing any of that, and you're only drinking water, and you're only eating meat, and you're getting loose stools, it can be that you're not absorbing all that fat, because your body has a limited capacity to absorb fat. And when your body's happy and satisfied with that, it just goes out. It's like a spillover valve. This is why people say, like, well, you don't want to eat too much fat. It's not a thing. You really can't, because physiologically you can't absorb more than your body has a bile for, unless you're doing something like taking ox bile or something like that, which I would not recommend in almost every situation ever. So that would force your body to absorb more fat than you need. Other than that, it just spills over and it goes out. So a little bit extra keeps your stool soft. So that's how you know that you're meeting that demand for your body to get enough fat, and then a little extra, right? And after that, you can get a lot more fat than your body can absorb. You can get loose stools. And so then that's fine. You don't have to reduce the amount of fat, but you're not absorbing all of it, right? And or you can go on the other side, where you're so constipated that you're getting a pseudo obstruction, and you get the liquid stools squirting around that, and you get watery diarrhea intermixed with hard constipated stools. And so if you're getting that pattern, then you need a lot more fat. But if it's just the normal loose stools from eating more fat than your body can absorb, then you can just pull back, because it's not unsafe. It's not an infection. There's not something wrong happening. It's just inconvenient. And so, that can be a problem for people, especially if they add in magnesium or coffee or something like that. They can, as Joe Rogan calls it, you get disaster pants for 3 weeks as you're starting this. When you're getting more used to eating fat, your body can potentially increase the amount of bile that it produces in a day. And so you can end up absorbing more fat. But eventually, you're either way, you have a limited capacity to absorb fat. So you just try to meet your body's demands. And that still tends to be around 1 to 2 grams of fat per 1 gram of protein, but it varies for people in different situations. So you just you get enough protein and you get enough fat, and enough fat is just stopping shy of the point that you get diarrhea. So that's the idea there. And that may increase, that may decrease. So, you just meet your body's demands at where they are. But that's how you sort of figure that out. Trying to got this weird sort of stuff here. I'm going to have to sort of try to get the Instagram thing up again. Unfortunately, it's not really working properly. I'm just trying to try this here. Just have to redo the code here real quick. Very sorry about this. Stream key. There we go. And there. All right. If it doesn't work this time, we'll just can it. Okay, so this is one of the questions from last week, was a super chat from Kylie Criddle. Thank you for that, Kylie. Everyone gets diarrhea, but I haven't, so I think I'm doing something wrong. No, you're just sort of meeting that that right amount of fat that your body is getting. Alternatively, if you're having coffee or tea or some of those things that I mentioned, and you're very constipated, it could just be offsetting that constipation. So you may need more of that. But that's true for everybody. If you're taking in those things, it can just mask how much fat you're actually getting, or exacerbate how much you're getting based on your stools. So just do nothing else except fatty meat and water for a few weeks, and then adjust the fat intake for your stools, and you should be fine. So no, you're not doing anything wrong. You just got lucky and didn't jump into you didn't head dive into the wrong amount of fat potentially, unless you're taking one of these sorts of things. So no, not everybody gets diarrhea. Not everybody gets loose stools when they're transitioning or later on. So it's but it is common enough, mostly because most people drink coffee on this planet, and then they go carnivore and they're like, well, I'm not giving up my coffee. And so now when you have fiber blocking up your pipes, a little bit of laxative effects, probably a good idea. Get that stuff moving through. You get rid of all that fiber, and now it's just liquefied meat. It's just going poof, and it's getting fire hosed out the other end. So, that's obviously not what you want. And so it's, but I'm still drinking the same amount of coffee. Yeah, but you're not eating fiber now. So it's very different. So that's why most people get loose stools, from what I can see, is they still drink coffee or artificial sweeteners, or put the artificial sweeteners in the coffee because it tastes disgusting and they have to do something to it. And that's usually why. But yeah, a lot of people, when they don't do that, if they're just eating meat and water, actually don't get that. So good. Glad you're not. There's another super chat from last week from Elena Ermolenko, who says, can carnivore help with hyperthyroidism, and can it reverse autoimmune conditions? And should people with hyperthyroidism supplement on iodine, just like hypothyroid people do? Well, hyperthyroid means you are overstimulating your thyroid. For an autoimmune conditions, this would be generally Graves' disease, that those antibodies trigger the TSH receptor, so you stimulate more thyroid production. It can help. It can help with any autoimmune disease. And you want to be as strict as possible, just red meat and water. And I have a few patients with Graves' disease. It's less common than, say, hypothyroid autoimmune conditions such as Hashimoto's, but they do improve. And so I've just actually just had a patient just this week who is being treated with Graves' disease. She has an endocrinologist who's directly treating it with medications. I'm just helping her with the diet side of things. And she, has shown improvement on her blood work. She's had some cheat days here and there, and so she's not having as fast of a recovery maybe as she would like. She was a bit disappointed because you've seen a lot of people online that say, they suppress their Graves' disease in 6 or 7 weeks. And so, she's sort of around that time mark now. And while it's improved, it hasn't gone away completely. But at the same time, she hasn't been 100% strict. And so we talked about that. And so we're going to see how she goes. But, she's doing, really well in a lot of other ways too. All her bloods are improving in all these other ways as well. So she's getting better and her autoimmune issue is getting better. If you just go red meat and water, every autoimmune condition that I've ever seen will improve. I've never seen one not improve significantly. And many of these are able to be put into full remission. And you measure the antibodies and they just keep coming down. They keep coming down and then they go away. And so, it's like lead poisoning. If you don't have lead in your body, you're not going to have lead poisoning. Oh, but if you drink water from lead pipes, it just comes right back. So it wasn't cured. It's like, it's not a disease. It's an exposure. And now you've re-exposed yourself. So we have to stop thinking of these things as diseases and exposures. So you stop exposing yourself to these things that your body's going to react negatively to. Problem goes away. Also improve sleep. All these other sorts of things are really important as well. And no, you don't necessarily need to take iodine unless you're deficient in iodine. I don't think you need to take any supplement unless you're actually deficient in it. Just get everything from your food. And organs are more nutrient dense. Fish has a lot of iodine in it if you're worried about iodine, but no, you don't necessarily need to do that unless you have an actual deficiency. So CS super chat from last week, and who says, "What's up, Chafe Dog? My girl and her mother say that it's immoral to eat meat. I told them it's part of human nature. They say it's evil to kill. How do you deal with these people?" Well, you can point out. You just ask them. It's like, okay, do we get rid of all the predators in the world? 70% of all animal species are carnivores and they're predators. And say, okay, so we get rid of them. We kill all the fish, kill all the whales, kill all the birds, kill all the dolphins, kill all the lions, kill all the hyenas and the foxes and wolves and all these sorts of things and the bears. And they'll just say, no, well, that's just part of nature. And it's like, well, yes, we're part of nature too. We don't exist outside of nature. And also you kill 25 times more sentient animals than you do eating meat by eating crops. To grow 1 pound of plant-based protein, you have to kill 25 times the number of sentient animals than to grow 1 pound of animal-based protein from large livestock animals like cows and sheep. So no, there's no such thing as a bloodless meal. And they may remove them, be one step removed from that killing, but that doesn't mean there's not killing involved. And I said, well, it's incidental. If you're driving on a road, you hear all these stupid scenarios. No, something died and you're responsible for that death. And so you own up for it and you own it and just say, yes, we did. And I'm going to respect this animal. I'm going to respect their life. And I'm going to give them as good a life as possible, as clean a death as there can be, and respect them and appreciate them, as opposed to just putting my fingers in my ears and pretending that this isn't happening, because it is. When you grow a single crop, you necessarily have to destroy an entire ecosystem. You have to kill every plant and every animal that's in that area and grow one crop. You destroy the soil, you destroy the soil's microbiome, you kill all the plants, you kill all the weeds that come up, you kill all the insects that are trying to eat it. In America alone, with the spraying of pesticides and insecticides, we kill over 1 quadrillion insects every year. That's just in America. That's the base of the food chain. So how many billions of birds and lizards and other sorts of smaller animals that rely on those bugs and insects for food and life die out, starve to death, or don't exist in the first place because their parents couldn't get enough food to then support babies and eggs, right? You're using those pesticides and insecticides that hurts and injures 700 billion birds a year just in America. And was it billions? Million. Yeah. 700 million birds in America, and about a tenth of those die. So, around 68 million birds die every year from these pesticides that we spray on crops. We shoot the deer and the pigs and the moose and the other animals that come in. The big harvesters just chew up and rip apart all the little animals that are in the crops, and all the bunnies and the squirrels and the mice and the snakes and the even deer that are out there in the cornfield just get chewed up and mowed down and chopped to pieces, in these big combine harvesters. And it's pretty wild. It's pretty destructive. 55% of Borneo's rainforests were bulldozed for palm seed oil crops. So they killed all the orangutans, all the snakes, all the birds, everything. They destroyed this entire habitat, and they bulldoze these things. And there are videos and pictures of these orangutans falling out of these trees. They bulldoze these trees. Orangutans fall out and crash and just shatter themselves, break their spine, and just suffering and just die slowly over the next few days. It's just disgusting, what they're doing for these crops. And then the vegans will say, well, no, but you destroyed this whole virgin rainforest, but then they replaced it with trees. So same. No, it's not same. That's a monocrop. That's not an ecosystem. And all those animals are dead now. You've killed them, and then the animals that try to move in and eat that crop, because that's why they're there, they get shot, right? Because they're messing with these people's money. So no, it's actually extremely immoral to grow crops. It's extremely destructive to grow crops. It's immoral. You're killing 25 times the number of sentient animals. You're destroying the ecological base of the food chain, and killing quadrillions, tens, 50, dozens of quadrillions of insects all around the world, and you are responsible for losing 27.5 billion tons of topsoil every single year. It takes 500 years to grow a centimeter of topsoil, right? That is a vanishing resource. Screw oil. Like, topsoil is what's going to run out next, right? And and we're pretending that this isn't the case. It's already been calculated that we probably only have about 50 growing cycles left on planet Earth, and we're trying to go more plant-based and speed that up, right? That's dumb, right? Animals regenerate the land. They regenerate the nutrients in the land. They make topsoil, and you can run them on arable land, which is 4% of the Earth's surface, including water. But you can also run them on rangeland and forest land, which makes up another 25% of the Earth's surface, right? You can't grow crops on rangeland or forest land, and you don't need to tear down the forest to put animals through it. You just run them through, and they just eat what they eat, right? So, and it's the animals that replenish the nutrients in the soil, actually makes the land more fertile in the first place. You cannot have plant agriculture without animal agriculture. You have to have it. You have to have those nutrients coming from those animals. You can't get away from that. And plant agriculture destroys the planet, destroys the ecosystem, destroys the animals. So no, it's actually evil and disgusting to eat plants, and you should tell them that they sicken you, and you don't want to hear anything from morally bankrupt people that are trying to destroy the planet. Maybe leave that last part out. Do what you want. It's a question from Thomas or Tomas, maybe, 3619 from last week. How important is it to eat antibiotic-free meat? Something I need to look more into, but from my understanding, they give antibiotics long before they're slaughtered, so they should be long out of their system by the time that you get them. And certainly, you're not going to like eat a steak and have that be a week's worth of antibiotics or something silly like that, because you give them a shot, goes throughout their entire body, so you're not going to get that whole shot worth in each steak. That's going to be distributed out between 2 years worth of meat, right? So how much is actually in there, I don't know, but I'm not too sure it's all that significant. I haven't looked closely into it that yet, but just working on that principle that like, well, this is a certain amount, but it's diluted over a whole cow, and they're not doing it like, here's your antibiotic, now here's the slaughterhouse. It doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of money. They give that to them at the beginning of the slaughterhouse, of the feedlot experience, because it's an unnatural environment. They're packed in tighter with other cows. They're eating an unhealthy diet, so they're more susceptible to infections. And so that's another thing too. You're getting just wild grass-fed animals. They don't need antibiotics, right? It's only when they go into feedlots and they're being fed things that they're not designed to eat that they end up needing these sorts of things. But they're given that early on so that they don't get sick and lose weight and die in the feedlot, so they can get them to market. So, realistically, I think it's probably well out of their system by the time we get them. But other people seem to have a problem with them. I know Dr. Lustig, thinks that there's a problem with them. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Lustig, but I'm just not convinced that there's much of it left in the meat by the time you get to it. But that there are ways to avoid it too. If that's something you're worried about, then certainly by all means avoid it. Super chat from last week from Irish Twins. Is carnivore okay for kids? My daughter loves steak. It is amazing for kids. It's what we've been eating forever. And since humans have been humans, before, we've been eating meat, and pretty much exclusively meat, except for areas that weren't able to get it. And then when the megafauna died out, that increased, where people weren't able to get as much fatty meat, and they had to go to plant and animal agriculture to fill in those gaps that were left by the megafauna dying out. So yes, it's absolutely good for kids. It's actually optimal for kids, and they're going to improve their health. They're not going to get sick as much. They're going to grow better, stronger, faster, more well-developed, and bigger brains. It's really important for kids to be in ketosis and have a lot of fat, because the brain is made out of fat. It also runs primarily on ketones, and you want the ketones because they can cross the blood-brain barrier, reconstitute into fatty acids, and that makes up the physical structures of the brain. Around 70% of the brain is fat, and so you need that fat from animal fat, and you need to be in ketosis to properly deliver that fat and energy into the brain. Since the agricultural revolution, the average brain size of men dropped by 11%. And, before you get too snarky, women, about men losing their brain, women lost 17% of their average brain size. So it's not good. Like that's a losing equation. So if you want your kid to actually develop out and have the brain size and the mental capacity and physical capacity that they're designed for genetically, then you want them to be carnivore 100%. Super chat from Louis Herrera. Thank you very much, Louis, or Louise. Hi, doctor. I hope you're well. In August, I was at LDL 164, HDL 35, triglycerides 573, HbA1c is 5.8. Today, my LDL is 247, HDL is 38, triglycerides are 270. HbA1c is 5.7. Should my HDL be significantly higher? Well, no, it's all about the trend. You're trending in the right direction. I would even argue that LDL going up is trending in the right direction, because people that have higher LDL live longer. So there's that. but your triglycerides have cut in half. So that's absolutely fantastic. Your HDL has come up, and your HbA1c has gone down. I'm assuming this is in a context of going on a carnivore diet, although you don't say that here. But so if you are on a carnivore diet, just keep going. Things are going in the right direction. If you're not on a carnivore diet, definitely do that, because that's going to improve this even more. And you cut out the sugar, the carbs, the alcohol, the seed oils, your triglycerides are going to come down. You remove stress, you improve your sleep, triglycerides are going to come down. And you increase meat and animal fat, your HDL is going to go up, and your LDL is going to do what it wants to do, and that's going to be physiologically appropriate. So your HDL can go up again from improving your life in other ways: resistance exercising, sprinting, and proper diet. And it is going up, which is good. Yes, men, you want that HDL higher than that. You want that to keep going up, but it is trending in the right direction. So you just keep going. You make those improvements, and then you just keep checking. Every 6 months or so, you see what's going on, and you just make sure it keeps trending in the right direction. Stress and sleep are really important, so don't discount that. I think food is number one most important. Stress and sleep are extremely important. And getting outside, getting in the sunlight, that's actually important. It's actually really important. You need sun on your skin and in your eyes. Don't stare at the sun, but getting light in your eyes, without sunglasses, it's actually really important for your brain and your body. Makes a difference. So do that, and good luck with it. But things are going in the right direction. So just keep checking it, keep getting more data points, and make sure that trend keeps improving. Paul Graham, thank you for the super chat. You say to eat until meat stops tasting good. What if meat stops tasting good, but I still feel hungry? Typical meal is ground beef cooked with butter. So it could be that you're eating too lean. So lean meat's going to taste like cardboard fairly quickly. And so, that is something to think about. So if you're not getting all that much fat on it, then increase the amount of fat, see how that goes, see if that improves things. And the other thing is too, is it depends on when you're doing this. If you're still having carb cravings, or you just sort of have an addictive pattern to eating, that can be it too, where you're just sort of having like a craving, I want to eat, all that sort of stuff, or I'm used to eating, but your body's not actually hungry. If fatty meat doesn't taste good, you're not hungry. Drink some water, read a book, go on a jog or something like that, or go on a walk. Just try to sort of distract yourself. After about 2-3 weeks of being away from carbohydrates and everything else from meat, you shouldn't have that. It should line up very well with your taste. And in fact, most people will feel satiated and satisfied, like, I don't have to eat anymore, before it stops tasting good. So it's either one of those two things: either eating too lean and it's just tasting like cardboard, or you're still in that sort of food addiction phase, and you just need to sort of get through it. So you eat enough fatty meat so that it sort of dampens that down. That tends to go away on its own. So it's very uncommon. I really actually haven't come across anyone who, after being on this for several weeks and eating very fatty meat, they're eating fatty meat and they're like, it doesn't taste good anymore, but they want to eat something else. It could be something like, I've heard some people, they're just saying like, I just really don't enjoy beef, and that doesn't really taste good to me, but lamb tastes really good. And so maybe it's something like that, where it's just, another sort of meat would taste good to you. So you can play around with that as well. But remember, high fat. Harpreet Kaur. I'm sure I said that wrong. I apologize. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. How I fix my dry mouth on strict carnivore, only lamb, salt, and water. I've been to doctors to see if there's an underlying issue. I've added electrolytes, tried more salt, and no salt. Please help. If it's just sort of dry mouth, I wouldn't add in more electrolytes and salt, because that can sort of dry you out a bit more. Just drink more water. If your mucosa is dry, drink more water. It could be that you have medication or a medical issue that gives you dry mouth, and you don't produce as much saliva as you need to. just drink more water. Try that, see how you go. If this predated carnivore, there's probably some sort of medical condition, autoimmune issue or otherwise, that makes it so you don't salivate as much. And yes, seeing your doctor is the right idea there. If this came after carnivore, just drink more water. And it's not about having no salt, just salt to taste. Drink a lot of water. If your mouth's still dry, drink more water, because dry mucosa is generally a sign of dehydration. So check that out. So there was a super sticker from Joseph Soraya. So thank you very much, Joseph, for that. Tom Carnivore from a super chat last week. Thank you very much for that. Wife in pain every menstrual cycle because of endometriosis. Doctor's solution is the pill. What is your take? I can't get her full carnivore as well, but she is keto since the diagnosis. So, keto is going to help. I do know, I don't know if my girlfriend Elle is in the chat, but her menstrual pain disappeared when she went full carnivore. But it was that last step to full meat and water that actually did it. She was still getting menstrual pain when she would have little cheats or little things here and there, and she was mostly eating meat, pretty much keto most of the time. Every now and then she'd have some other stuff. But most of the time she was really good. And then when she made that full switch to just meat and water, gone. She had no menstrual pain. And in fact, I bought her this thing. She was, dropping several unsubtle hints about this thing that she wanted, to sort of like a warming pack, on her abdomen and pelvis to sort of heat up and warm when she had period pain. She had menstrual pain. And I got this for her at sort of the exact time she started doing just full on meat and water, and had never had menstrual pain after that. So this thing's just sitting in the closet. It's never been used. So that was funny because she really wanted that. She'd wanted that for a while, and I ended up getting it for her, and doesn't need it anymore. So, I'm not a big fan of the pill for anybody in any situation, really, because it actually really screws up your hormones, and actually can cause mental issues as well. And it causes women to actually think differently about their partners as well. We're getting more long-term data on this, decades of data on this. Women who are on the pill end up choosing different partners in different ways for different reasons, and they come off the pill and they changes their mindset. Hormones are really, really important for your health and your brain. And so I don't think that that's a good, just put her on the pill. No, why would you want to mess up her hormones like that? I mean, that has all these unintended consequences that are just really not a good idea. So, start with keto, to eat a lot of fat, get your ketones up. Ketones are going to suppress inflammation. That can help with pain as well. Try to get rid of the most inflammatory plants, such as nightshades. So potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, peppers. Try to get low oxalate ones as well. And then mix up the veggies. You shouldn't have the same veggies every single day, because they have the same toxins every single day and they build up. And so if you're going to have these plants, you just mix them up. You have a smaller amount and you mix them around. And that gives your body a chance to sort of detoxify these things a little better. But full carnivore would help. It would absolutely help. I see this again and again, people saying they have significant improvement in their menstrual cycle. Maybe people in the live chat or in the comments watching this after the fact and watching the recording, maybe comment below and just say their experiences with that, and if they've had improvement in their menstrual cycle, or if they haven't, if you've gone, but with the caveat that if you have gone full carnivore, just meat and water, how has that affected your menstrual cycle? Because that's what sort of what we want to know. But also, if you've done sort of, half-hearted carnivore, at least, just say that, just say, hey, I wasn't 100%, but, I still had coffee or something like that, and it helped my menstrual pain, but it didn't quite get rid of it. That's good information as well. Or maybe some people went close to it and got rid of all of it. Or maybe it's just like, no, you really have to go 100%. So, please do let people know what your experiences with it is and how strict you were with it, so that people know that as well. And good luck to your wife. Hopefully the keto helps a lot, and really calms this down so she can avoid taking nasty hormones. Also heard Lugal's iodine can help. Is that from Tom the Carnivore? I'm not too sure, but I don't know. But if that's in the context of menstrual pain, then I don't know one way or the other. So yeah, I'm not the best to ask on that one. So Beth Rademacher, thank you very much. This is again from last week. Congrats on 300K. Well, thank you very much. Question, is it okay to eat the same cut of beef all the time? I sure hope so, because that's exactly what I do. Or are there different nutrients and different cuts that we need to switch up? Not so much. I mean, there's going to be a different ratio of fat, cholesterol, and protein in the different cuts. So as long as you're getting your that sort of balance properly, it should be fine. The thing is that, like, different organs will definitely have different nutrient profiles. And so if you're having the organs, having a bit of a couple of different ones, probably a good idea. If you're having a lot of liver all the time, those things are going to build up. And the water soluble ones, probably not a big deal, because you'll just wash those out, unless you're really overdoing it. But the fat soluble ones, or the metals like copper and things like that, they stick around longer. And so you do have to be mindful of that. But no, you should be able to eat the same cut of beef, especially beef. If you're sort of eating chicken all the time, you're probably not going to get all the nutrients you want. A lot of people that eat a lot of beef, they eat chicken, they're like, oh, this is just bland. Even the dark meat isn't all that fun to eat, because it doesn't have the same nutrient density and profile. So, but beef, generally just eat beef. I mean, there are people that have, like the Andersons, they've been doing carnivore for like 25 years at this point, raised all their kids on it. They've just eaten ribeyes the whole time. This is what they eat. They eat ribeyes, and good for them. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Some people need a bit of organs. People with MTHFR may need a bit more folate and B12 than other people do, and so they might need a bit of liver. Most people don't, but if you're in that category where you do need a bit more of this stuff. Also, the food that we're eating, the meat that we're eating, it's not wild game, right? The wild game is way more nutrients in it and micronutrients. And so if you aren't able to get regeneratively raised, grass-fed and finished beef and lamb, the store-bought stuff is still great, but it does have less micronutrients. It just does. And so it might be that you need a bit of organs for that. So just keep that in mind. Bit of liver every now and then is not going to kill you. A lot of organs and liver, might be a problem, but a small amount, a few times a week, it's not going to hurt you. In fact, it'll be pretty good for you. It doesn't taste that bad. The less you cook meat, the better it tastes. That's a pro tip right there. So that's what I would suggest. So Beth Rademacher, thank you again for the super chat. Are crockpot ceramic inserts healthy? And is slow cooking for 12 plus hours all right, or does it destroy nutrients? Thank you. We appreciate all you do. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. And you're welcome. So slow cooking, yeah. Look, if you're cooking things well done, you're going to denature some of the nutrients. You're going to knock out different enzymes and amino acids and other sorts of things that will be denatured with heat. You'll make some things less available or not available at all, but nothing that we know of as essential. But it will make other things more available. Slow cooking breaks down the collagen and that tough connective tissue, which is very hard for you to break down and would generally pass through you. Now you can break it down, you can absorb it. So you actually get a lot out of it. So that slow cooking is a good technique to get nutrients that otherwise your body wouldn't be able to get. So there's a trade-off. There are things that you lose by cooking, but there's things you gain by cooking as well. I'm sort of in the mindset of eat what tastes good to you. We've been cooking meat for at least 800,000 years, if not 1.5 million years. And so whatever happens when we cook it, we're well used to it by now. We don't know how much they cooked it. We don't know if they cooked it, rare and whatever. But we have been cooking meat anyway for a very long time. And so I think that that's fine to cook meat. If you mix it up and have some more rare cooked meat and more well done cooked meat, you're going to be covering your bases anyway. And but I don't think we consider any of the things that we lose from cooking essential anyway. Might be essential for some conditionally, just like carnitine is conditionally required and essential for some people. 30% of people don't make enough carnitine, so you need it from your food. You need it from meat. Can't get it from plants. So are there some people that may need a bit more taurine than others, and you lose taurine when you cook it, potentially? So, just cover your bases, have some less cooked meat sometimes, and to mix it up with the more cooked meat, and you should be fine. Like cats have to have taurine, so you might be able to feed them a bit of cooked meat here and there, but they need the raw meat. So most people won't need that, though. Maybe if it is someone, it's going to be a rare sort of genetic variant. So the normal people, not a problem. Ellie, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Dr. C. I'm a serious fan. Well, thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Is it necessary to drink water every 1, 2, 3 hours, etc., or does the length of time between drinks not matter? I don't think you have to just constantly drink water. Think about what you're doing in nature. Where we've been able to store water in containers and bring them with us. But we, generally animals, you get to a watering hole and you sort of drink a lot of water. They may not drink for a few days after that, or they might drink every day, but they might just drink once a day. Water's pretty dangerous in nature in a lot of areas. There's usually, something trying to, you bring your face down to the water and there's something that all of a sudden will bite your face and pull you into the water. So, it's not just people, animals aren't just going to just drinking every couple hours or every hour. So I don't think you need to do that. I think just drink to thirst. I tend to camel up. So I'll drink, a lot of water in one go, and then I'll just go to work and work pretty much all day. And I don't take breaks. I don't take lunch. I don't take anything, because I don't need to, so I just see patients and I just keep going. And, when I'm at the hospital, there's no breaks to take. It's just like you just go and you desperately try to eat something whenever you can, if you have to. But for me, you generally don't have to. And you just drink water when you can. But sometimes, I won't drink. I'll drink water in the morning before I leave for work, and I'll drink water at night when I get back from work. And that's the opportunities that I have to get water. So no, I don't think you have to just drink every hour on the hour or anything like that. Just drink a reasonable amount of water for you, and just make sure you're getting enough. Make sure you're not getting dehydrated, and that's it. I don't think it matters how much you drink at a time. I don't think you have to just keep sipping throughout the day. And there are medical reasons why you would need to do that. I've heard Andrew Huberman talk about how it doesn't matter how much you drink at night before you go to bed. If you drink it faster, so the rate of how fast you drink it, that will make you more or less likely to need to get up and pee. Interesting. I haven't seen the study or the full discussion on that, but that was something that I saw sort of in a clip. Whereas if you sort of chug water, you're more likely to need to pee in the middle of the night. Whereas if you sort of drank that more slowly over several minutes or something like that. But again, I didn't see the full thing. Either way, I just sort of drink a lot of water when I have access to it, and then don't worry about it after that. But do make sure you get enough water. Ellie, I think this is one of the last ones from last week, so made some good progress. Ellie, thank you very much. And I have checked the super chat, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, or the private chat. So Ellie says, when you can't or don't eat, but you're hungry, how long would it be before your body thinks it's a famine and slows down the metabolism? Thanks again. it would take a while. If you've been, just eating consistently, um, your body's gonna, and you miss a meal. I mean, that's pretty common for animals to miss a meal in the wild. And so, um, so that we're well used to that. It's going to be the prolonged, day after day after day after day of getting less than your body requires, that your body's going to say like, oh, okay, we need to shut this down. If you look at like the Minnesota starvation studies, by our good friend, the evil, the sort of the mad scientist, Ansel Keys, they starved the hell out of these people to see what it'd be like if everyone had to be on rationing or concentration camps and things like that. And they lost, a lot of weight at first, but then it plateaued. And then they didn't really lose much weight at all, even though we're basically eating nothing. Very, 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 very small amounts of food. So, it does take some time, but then it goes down, it slows down, it stays down. And then when you start eating again, you will put on fat because your body's saying, we need to store this, we need to survive, because maybe we got a cache of food now, but it doesn't mean we're out of the famine. We're not necessarily getting consistent meals. We're not necessarily going to get consistent meals. And so it needs to protect you so that you can survive. I don't promote fasting in people. I have seen people that use a carnivore diet, and if they want to sort of help accelerate fat loss, or when they're getting ready for like a competition or something like that, they may fast 1 day a week. Otherwise, they're doing like sort of intermittent, one meal a day. And but I've actually seen a lot of people that say that if they stretch that out to 2 days, or do 2 days a week separated by a few days, that actually can slow down weight loss, and you start seeing that metabolism start coming down. They start getting eating less, or actually losing less too, and they might actually start going back the other way. So just be mindful of that. If you skip a meal out of necessity, you're just traveling and there's nothing good to eat. I mean, it's better to not eat than eat something bad for you, I think, unless you're actually starving, but none of us are. And so, skipping a meal or skipping a day of meals, your body can handle that. It's not going to cause too much of a problem. And then you'll sort of get back into the routine, and your body will be fine. Even if you fast for a few days for whatever reason, someone's treating cancer or other sort of medical issue and they want to do a medical fast, then, great. Do that. But your body will sort of recover, and you might put on a bit of fat and sort of stabilize and all that sort of stuff. When you have a cancer and you're fasting, you need refeeds. Like, you don't want to lose too much weight. You want to maintain healthy weight. So, it takes a bit of time, but if you just skip a meal or a day or two, you shouldn't do that, and your body will recover and your metabolism will go back up, within a few days or a week anyway. So it should be fine. It's just those prolonged periods of chronically under eating that's the problem. This is a chat from Ellie Melly. Thank you very much for saying hi. Says, I'm here, just got on. Yes, my period pain went away. So it's in reference to the last one of those last questions. Their period pain went away. I also have the copper coil for contraception, and it's meant to make period pain very bad, but don't get it all anymore. Yeah, so that's actually a good point, is that those sorts of IUDs are typically make things much more painful and more uncomfortable. So it's if that's getting rid of that sort of increased pain, then that's a really good sign as well. I'm going to see, there's actually quite a lot of questions. So this is from Lena. Thank you for the super chat. Best fat to protein percentage for fat loss and better sleep is that 80-20. Well, it depends. Again, like going back to what I said before, it's getting enough. So enough fat, enough protein, and that's going to stimulate your body to say, hey, we're not in a famine. We'll just let this go. So I think that you just want to, for a lot of people, that's 80-20, but it's not about the ratio. It's about just getting enough. So, it's just be mindful of that. that that it could be different for you, but a lot of people, 80-20 is good, or 70-30 is also good. You're aiming in between that and just make sure you're getting enough fat for your body, and you're just eating until fatty meat stops tasting good, and whatever that shakes out to be is fine for you. Okay. So it's from Daniel Salinas. Thank you for the super chat. Benefits of carnivore on narcolepsy. So that's a good question. There are a couple people that have said they've actually recovered from narcolepsy, which is pretty wild. I've had a couple of them on my podcast. I'm pretty sure Rebecca Heichman had narcolepsy, and that's actually recovered. So you can check out that interview. I'm pretty sure that she did. And I've seen a couple other people too, which is pretty wild. Because my cousin had narcolepsy, and so it's not fun. It's not a fun condition to have. And so I think he was able to treat that with medication that just basically forces you to sleep. And so because a lot of it's sort of insomnia, your brain can't tell. You don't sort of get tired. It's almost like a superpower. You just don't get tired and you just don't feel it. So you just keep going until your body just goes, no, we're not doing this anymore. And your brain just shuts off and you just pass out. So it's sort of in extreme insomnia. And so what taking these medications do is just forces you to go to sleep. And then you at least you can at least regulate that, so you're not just going to go to like, nope, too far and knock out, right? So at least some people have improved that anyway, and so hopefully that is the case for you as well. I was just going to say, everyone, there's actually a lot of super chats poured in as I was going through sort of last week's, but I do have some appointments this afternoon. So maybe we'll just go ahead and stop the super chats now anyway, and try to get through as many of these as we can as well, so we don't have this spillover effect for next time as well. Stags, thanks for the super chat. How do I know my protein to fat ratio, if I'm fat adapted, and why don't I get symptoms of meat not tasting good no matter how much I eat? I only get full. I want to lean up. Do I reduce fat and eat lean? No, I don't think you need to reduce fat. I think that's actually detrimental. You want to get the majority of your energy from fat, because when you start running on protein, it's not good. So what the thing is that if you're only eating meat and only drinking water, then eventually it would stop tasting good. If you're sort of getting to the point where you sort of feel full, but you're still happy to eat it, if you're not eating anything else, there's nothing else complicating it. You're not on any medications that could increase your hunger and things like that. Sometimes you get full, and sometimes you get full because you're eating more lean. Sometimes you're eating more fat. Actually can increase the amount of energy and nutrients that you're getting in, and your body gets much more satiated much more quickly on a higher fat version of that. And then maybe you just need to eat more than once. Maybe your body wants you to eat more than once a day, and that's fine too. So I get that, where I just sort of eat until my body's just like, yep, no, that's as much as we've got room for, and but it's not enough for me for what I'm doing. And so my body wants me to eat another time too. So I end up eating more than once a day when that happens. So I think you just listen to your body. And if you need to eat more than once a day, eat more than once a day. If anything, I would increase the fat, not reduce it. Because if you're reducing the fat, if you're eating more lean, it's going to sort of change that. It actually not taste good, but you're still hungry and your body's still telling you to eat and all that sort of stuff. You're sort of getting it sort of the other way around, but you're saying that why don't I get symptoms of meat not tasting good no matter how much I eat? I just get full. It could just be that your body wants more nutrients, and so you want to sort of eat more. And but if your body's getting physically full, could be that it's that you're not getting all the the meat that you want, because you're not getting the right proportions of things. You can also add in things that are more nutrient dense, like a bit of liver, kidney, and heart. And that has a lot of nutrients, because your body's chasing nutrients, it's not chasing calories. So we get more nutrient dense stuff. Typically that's more satiating as well. So you can try all those little things, but I would still eat what your body's asking you to eat. Gunther SB, thank you for the super chat. I've never done a ketogenic diet. I eat 80 to 90 grams of carbs per day. Can I start the Lion diet with 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio and grams cold turkey? Yeah, you absolutely can. A lot of people do. Probably easiest to do that, because you just sort of strike while the iron's hot and you just sort of get into it. If there are some people that like to transition. That's just more of a personal preference sort of thing. And you could do that. 80 to 90 grams isn't all that much. So, dropping the rest of that probably would be fine. I don't see any problem with that. There are a lot of people that eat a lot more carbs than that a day and go cold turkey. So, you should be fine, but if you feel better, reducing it more slowly, go ahead and do that. A lot of people do it just cold turkey though, and they do just fine with it. So good luck with that. I'm glad you're going to give it a try. Coley D, thank you for the super chat. I've been carnivore for about 4 months now. Lately, I've been having intermittent kidney pain. A caffeine tablet once daily. Could this be causing it? You never know, possibly. You can always just try cutting it out, drinking more water. It's hard to tell if it's kidney pain. It can just be pain sort of in that area, sort of under your ribs. It could be muscular pain. It could be sort of, costoral chondritis sort of pain, pain in your ribs, pain in the cartilage or the joints with your ribs, those sorts of things. Hard to say if it's actually your kidneys. If it is, you try cutting out the caffeine. You can try increasing water and see how you go. Some people do get, when they're clearing oxalates, they can sort of build up kidney stones as your body sort of dumping this stuff out. Again, more water. Try to get that stuff cleared so it's not building up and pooling and forming a stone. And so just more water, less caffeine, see how you go. Mr. Anthrope, thank you for the super chat. Mother has Schatzky's ring, solid food, painful, and eating next to nothing for weeks. Doctor expanded esophagus today, hoping for relief. Thoughts on including meat at this stage? Meat smoothies, okay. You can definitely do more pureed meats and pate sort of things, or pate textured things. That's totally fine. Eventually, you want to be able to chew and swallow. It's good for your teeth and your face and all that sort of stuff. But no, if she's got a medical issue that makes it difficult to swallow, then yes, having meat smoothies is perfectly fine. That you can do that. Doesn't sound too appealing, but hopefully you make it in a way that tastes good and gets her to get the proper nutrients. But yeah, it's still a good idea to eat proper food. So someone said, I was so interested to hear of your father's success on the carnivore diet with the diagnosis of Parkinson's, but I haven't heard any more information from anyone else about it. Is he still doing well? He is still doing well. He was under eating for a number of years, and I keep trying to sort of tell him, like, you have to eat more. So he lost sort of more weight than he wanted to. So now we're working on eating meat, and I tell him you need to eat meat every day like it's your job. You have to eat enough meat. You have to eat enough fat. For his whole life, it was very controlled. It was just like, no, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here. No, that's enough. I can stop here. That's not what we're doing here. You need to get enough. Your body's telling you to get more. You get more. Before, when we were eating a bunch of crap, you had to stop yourself or else you would eat too much. Now that's not the case. If you are stopping yourself prematurely, you're not getting enough. And so I impressed that upon him. Because of that, and because he sort of lost a lot of weight and he's got a lot of back pain, that sort of hurt his mobility. Obviously, you have a bit less mobility with Parkinson's. And so, that superimposed onto things has made things a bit more difficult, but he's working with PT and doing some other things to try and help regain his strength, and obviously eating a lot more meat to help him put on some healthy lean body mass is really, really important for that. As far as the Parkinson's is concerned, he really hasn't progressed much, with all these other things going on. He's he's not as spry as he was, but he's not as advanced as you would expect at all. I mean, he really hasn't advanced much in his Parkinson's, to especially to the degree that he's off medications, he's off levodopa, he's not doing those sorts of things. And he's just really not progressing very much. And it's been 7 years at this point. And he had early signs of this before that. But he's been carnivore for 6 years now, with a couple of cheats here and there, but they've gotten more good about that recently as well. So that's been great. And so hopefully that'll help him more too. But yeah, no, he's doing really well. And, normally you'd see this go a lot faster than that. And then medication stopped working, levodopa stops working. You get surgeries and implants into your brain, which is pretty wild surgery. We've done several of those, a couple dozens. I've helped out with a few dozen of those, and they're pretty wild surgeries. And so it's not something that you necessarily want to go down, but it does help, and that can really. If someone has a really bad tremor or other sorts of issues where they're just really stiff and rigid, or bad tremor, that can help, right? And especially for tremor, I mean, some of these people have these really wild tremors; they can't do anything. And so my dad is not there. He's a bit of a tremor sometimes, just a little bit, and otherwise really good. So yeah, doing very well. Could be doing better, but we're working on those sorts of things as well. Thank you for asking. WR, thank you for the super chat. 4 months carnivore and coffee. God damn it. My heart is racing, lightheaded, lungs, muscles, doing very simple housework. Tried electro, decreased coffee, feel like passing out. Well, I would try electro. I'm not sure what that is. Electrocardiogram, like an ECG, maybe. Probably a good idea if you sort of get a racing heartbeat and all that sort of stuff, just doing simple things. There could be an underlying medical condition. It would not be from carnivore. Coffee, caffeine can do that. You're decreasing coffee, or have you tried eliminating coffee? Probably a good idea to do that. Heart racing, lightheaded, and those sorts of things. You can check other things. You check your blood pressure. If your blood pressure is low, you can get those things. People on medications for blood pressure and things like that, sometimes that medication becomes too high, and so they need to reduce that. They don't realize that. They don't realize they're getting low blood pressure. Being lightheaded and having your heart race, that can be a sign of low blood pressure. You could be anemic. There could be some sort of other reason why this is going on, and your body needs to pump out more, have a higher cardiac output in order to move the same amount of oxygen around your body and perfuse your tissues. So check things like your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and get your bloods checked, and check for anemia, and check for other sorts of things going on, because that's not typical. That eating meat is not going to do that. So you want to make sure that there's not something else going on, and really easy to just cut out the coffee too, but that's still pretty atypical for people who drink coffee and do carnivore as well. So I check those other things. I drink more water. I check your blood pressure, check your blood sugar, and check your bloods for things like anemia. Talk to your doctor and see if doing a further, more detailed history and exam elicits some other sorts of concerns they might be able to test for. It's not from eating meat, and it's certainly not from not eating poison-ass plants. So look for other reasons. It could very well be that you're on too much medication now, and that you need to work with your doctor to decrease that. But do talk to your doctor. Don't just go around changing your medications without talking to your doctor first. Isaac Omundson, thank you for the super chat. How to start eating a carnivore diet focused mainly ground beef without getting food aversions almost immediately. Well, some people really enjoy that. It depends on how you cook it, depends on how much fat is in it. If you're getting much more higher fat content in the ground beef, like 50-50, 60-40 ground beef from your butcher, special made, tastes amazing. It tastes way better than even the 70-30 stuff. Certainly the 80, 85, 90, 93, 7 sort of nonsense. That's just, you're just cooking a brick. It's disgusting. It just does not taste very good. And that sort of tells you your brain's just like, you need something else here. You need fat. So that lean meat's not that good. Also, you cook ground beef well done, doesn't taste all that appealing. So you're doing patties that's like medium rare to rare, much better. Going to taste much better. Can be much more interesting. And you can also, if you're okay with dairy, putting a bit of sour cream or yogurt or a slice of cheese on those patties, that can potentially make it a bit more interesting as well. But I think dairy should be used very sparingly and only as a condiment. And there are a lot of people that really just don't do well with it at all, especially people with autoimmune diseases. And if you're trying to lose weight, good idea to avoid dairy in general. It's a classic weight loss stall on carnivore is dairy. So just be mindful of that. Cook it, find a way to cook it that you enjoy. Get much fattier meat, melt butter into it. Tastes a lot better with that. Okay. Dr. Tragedia, thank you, says, great job, Doc. We appreciate you. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's always nice to see, other doctors that are coming to this and find this stuff and say like, yeah, look at that. This actually is, it's something that's there. I get a lot of messages from doctors, telling me, that they've been doing this themselves. They use this with their patients, and they really find this really helpful, and that they enjoy the videos and different things that I put out, which is great. Because every now and then you get some asshole going like, oh, well, you're not a real doctor, or this, that, and the other, or you're just in this for the money, whatever. It's just like, well, I'm sorry, but like other doctors and professors of medicine and nutrition and biology and botany and all these sorts of things, they're reaching out to me, telling me that they agree with the things that I'm saying, and that X, Y, and Z is totally accurate, and they really appreciate it. So sorry, you're wrong, and so it's always good to see that. I get far more of those than the negative ones, so that's always good to see. And because I don't want to be wrong, and it's nice to test this against other people and see what other people think. And if other people are in this field and have or have a medical background or a scientific background, and they're seeing this and going, yeah, that's dead true, and here's something that adds to it. That's always helpful to know that that you're on the right track. That's good. Edison Melendez, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. Should I salt the pureed beef meat I'll feed to my 4-month-old son? If so, how much? How often? You're the absolute best. Well, thank you. Thank you for being such a positive force in the world. Keep up the amazing work. Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you. No, you don't necessarily have to. See how he likes it. It just has some fatty meat, and he's just eating fatty meat. Probably doesn't need all that much salt. They're in ketosis from birth, right? So it's not like you're going to get this transition period like you do with people that have been eating a bunch of carbs and have this massively elevated insulin, and then that sort of changes up. But you don't necessarily need to salt. If he likes a bit of salt, probably not that big of a deal. But no, I don't think you necessarily need to salt the meat that you puree for him. And if he just enjoys it and likes it and wants more, just keep going with that. Okay. WR, thank you for the super chat. No room to say thank you on the last chat, but thank you. Your videos keep me motivated. Tried and failed carnivore for 5 years. This time I'm 4 months in, longest I've gone. Well, that's great. 4 months in, that's That's really good. So you're through the sort of the initial period of cravings and withdrawals and all that sort of stuff. So you got through that. That's really good. And now it's just a matter of habit and you just focusing on how you feel and just say, hey, look, how do I feel when I'm doing this? How do I feel when I'm not doing this? If you really prefer the way you're feeling when you're doing this, that's good motivation to stay on it. If you slip up, just remember, you just hop right back on. It's okay. You're not out of the team. You're not off, you're not out of the club. It's, if you fall off the horse, you get right back on, right? So you fall off the wagon, you just hop right back on the wagon before it gets too far away from you and you have to catch up. So, that's it. Maybe you don't ever slip up again and maybe you don't ever have a problem again, and that's great. But, if you do, just try to think about how it made you feel. Think about how you feel normally and think about how it made you feel when you ate that other stuff. Most often people feel way worse when they eat that stuff. And so use that as a reinforcement to say, okay, I don't want to slip off again because I just feel like crap when I do that. So good luck with that. And great job. You're doing great. 4 months is awesome. If you can do it for 4 months, you can do it for the rest of your life. Easy. And you have a slip up here and there, fine. Just jump right back on right away and use that to reinforce it for the next time so you don't you slip up less and less and then finally just have no interest in never slipping up again. Good job. And Bielecki, thank you for the super chat. Question: is it possible for beef fat to disagree with me? After I seem to get after I eat it, I seem to get lower abdominal ache more often now in my 8th month. Butter is okay. It's actually the other way I see it most often is when people are first starting to eat more fat, they sort of feel a bit more unsettled and uncomfortable because their body's just like, oh my God, we've never eaten this much fat. So, we really shouldn't do that. And sort of the psychosomatic sort of response to that. So if you if you're able to get through that period, usually, it's just you just eat until it stops tasting good and being enjoyable. So if you're sort of eating something and sort of like not agreeing with you, it could be their brain's telling you, okay, you don't need that much. Sort of lower abdominal ache is a bit odd. Don't come across that often. But at the end of the day, if there's other fats that don't make you feel that way, you're adding butter and that's fine. Just stick with that. There's not always a good explanation for why something's causing you to feel a bit weird. Just eat the things that don't make you feel that way. And maybe that it just sort of clears up. Maybe it's just something weird going on with your body. Maybe it's just something that's in that round of beef that you got as well. But if butter doesn't do it, then just go with butter. Carnivorous Clan, thank you for the super chat. Will carnivore help with hirsutism? If so, how long before I could see results? So it depends on what's causing the hirsutism. Hirsutism is inappropriate facial and body hair on women and sort of a masculine pattern. It's generally from elevated testosterone. It could be from PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And yes, that's absolutely something that can be helped by going carnivore. PCOS is most commonly caused by insulin resistance. So women make testosterone first, and then that's converted into estrogen in the ovaries. High insulin blocks that conversion of testosterone into estrogen. So you get too much testosterone, not enough estrogen. You get PCOS, and you get infertility, and you get hirsutism, and you start growing facial hair and body hair and things like that. So yes, so you do that. It depends on how high your insulin is and how much of a problem this is causing. It takes time for your insulin to come down. It takes time for that testosterone to come down and start converting better into estrogen. And then at that point, you have these darker hairs on your body. And so even though your hormones are being cleared up, it can take time for those to clear up as well. So I can't tell you exactly how long that's going to take, but if this is something from PCOS, then yes, it absolutely can get better when your hormones normalize, and then the hairs have to sort of like fall out and go away because they're not being stimulated by testosterone anymore. So yes, it can help. Good luck with that. It'll help you in a lot of other ways too. Ron Aromondo, thank you for the super chat. Looks like it's down here. Doctor says fibromuscular dysplasia, says no treatment, and says non-eye. I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. Doctor says I have fibromuscular dysplasia. He says no treatment and diet won't help because it's non-inflammatory disease. Can carnivore help? Well, it's not going to hurt anyway. And the thing is that we've never tested these diets against these diseases. Some of them we have, ketogenic sort of diets. There's tons of studies on ketogenic diets. I don't know if there's any on fibromuscular dysplasia, but you can look into that. Ketogenic diets replace carbohydrates with fat and protein from animals, from meat. They're animal-based diets. And that's what they use in the studies. So if you find something, if you go on PubMed or Google Scholar and you look up fibromuscular dysplasia and ketogenic diet, you may find studies that have been done on that, and it may or may not have helped. If it is the case that it's helped, that applies to a carnivore diet, because carnivore diets are animal-based ketogenic diets, and that's what people don't realize, that this is a very well-studied diet with a lot of long-term evidence on it. So take a look for that. I don't know. I don't know myself if that's going to be something that's going to help. I don't really have any patients with fibromuscular dysplasia. I can't really think of people that I've spoken to that have had that. But maybe someone here in the comments. There's 1,200 people watching at the moment. So I mean, let's see. Someone here has had that. Please, leave that in the comments, and or someone watching the replay. If that's something that you've have experience with, please do let us know, so that Ron can take a look at that, and other people can know as well. Either way, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to make it worse. It could make it better. We don't know. I don't know anyway, but it will help you in 1,000 other ways that will make it very much worth your while to do. And who knows? People are reversing things or improving things that their doctors said, no, absolutely incurable. There's nothing you can do, all that sort of stuff. Fine. That's our knowledge base at the moment, or his knowledge base at the moment, or their knowledge base at the moment. Fine. But, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get benefit from doing this. And we are seeing people do this and reverse autoimmune diseases. No one thought autoimmune diseases were reversible. Reversing diabetes. No one thought diabetes was reversible. All these sorts of things that everyone thought, no, you can't reverse that. You're just stuck with it. That's just it. That's it for you. Wrong. Okay. So this could be one of those things that we're wrong about as well. I've seen so many other things just completely go away that no one thought possible. And so this could very well be one of those as well. Don't know. Give it a try. You're going to improve a lot anyway, and you may as well see what it does, and it could very well help you. So good luck with that. Mike Oxfalfin. Interesting name. I haven't come across that before. How bad is eating spiced pork rinds? Lime in water, drinking tea, pepper, coffee. My mom thinks these are no big deal. What would you tell her? Well, it's a smaller amount, and if you're only using those, you're not having absolutely anything else, and you're just eating meat and water otherwise, you're still going to be doing better than 99.999% of people out there in the world, right? And that's great. Right. But I think it would be worth just doing a self-experiment of just trying to come off of it for 30 days and just see how you go. Right. Just come off of that. I think you'll find it makes a massive difference. It makes a massive difference. Even people just coming off coffee, a lot of people find that gives them much better energy, reduces their inflammation significantly, and they feel a lot better. And so, taking out those sorts of things, I mean, they do have toxins in them. They do. And it's a big drop off that cliff. You're just doing perfect red, meat and water, and you just add a little bit of stuff in. It's a big drop. It's a big drop down, just that first step off. So I would, and just encourage you to just try it for a month. It's not that long, 30 days. It's nothing. grand scheme of things, if can radically improve your life, why not try it out? And at least you know then. You cut all that stuff out and you just go meat and water, whatever meat that you choose and whatever you enjoy, and just see how you feel. You want to try to add those things back in, add them back in, but pay close attention to how it makes you feel. Pay close attention to how you feel and how it makes you feel after when you add those in. Most people don't want it after that because they feel so much better. So I'd give that a try. TT, thank you for the super chat. Looks like the question's down below. Been strict carnivore for over a year. Can't lose weight. Should I be adding the leftover hamburger grease from the air fryer to my hamburgers? I mean, it's certainly a good nutrient. You're getting that fat. You're sort of losing that. You want to get it back, basically. But you just need to eat. You just need to eat more. So you keep eating fatty meat until it stops tasting good. You do that. Just do that to your body's. Your body's desire, and you do want to get enough fat as well. So there are reasons for not losing weight as well. Carnivore for over a year, that's pretty good. So there might be some other reasons going on. Maybe talk to your doctor, get a blood panel, check your nutrients, your B12, your vitamin D, your zinc, magnesium, things like that. Check, more importantly, your hormones, right? Make sure your hormones are in line. It'd be great if you check these before so you could see the trend and the pattern, but you start where you are and you check your thyroid, you check your TSH, your free T4, your free T3. You can even check your reverse T3 and just make sure all of these things are in line. If they're out of balance, it can be very difficult for you to lose weight. And there could be a reason for that. There could be some sort of issue that you're dealing with that you're not aware of. You could have low iodine. Check your iodine. If you have an iodine deficiency, you're not going to make thyroid hormone properly. You're going to have a pretty slow metabolism. You're not going to lose weight. You can check your other hormones also and just make sure that they're in balance as well. Check your fasting insulin. Check your blood sugar. And your leptin as well. Leptin is a satiety hormone, and you get leptin resistance, and that gets elevated. It's very difficult to lose weight. And so when people have very elevated leptin levels, it's often a struggle for them to lose weight until that comes down low enough that they can lose weight. So that's a sign of just this sort of slowed down metabolism and bunged up metabolism from eating the wrong thing for so long. So that can explain those sorts of things too. After a year, whatever your leptin was, it's a hell of a lot lower now. You also need to make sure you're optimizing sleep and you're optimizing stress, because both of those things, when done poorly, will raise cortisol, that will raise blood sugar, that will raise insulin, that will keep you from losing body fat. Also remember that weight is not the same thing as body composition. Not losing weight does not mean you're not losing fat. So if you're putting on muscle and you're losing fat, you could stay the same weight, right? So you could also get a body composition scan and see where you're at. Check it again in 6 months. So, there's a lot of other things you can optimize. You get outside, you get in the sun, get your feet on the ground, out in the grass, get sunshine in your eyes and on your skin. All these things actually make a bigger difference than you think. And they certainly help with your circadian rhythm and your hormones. And, so it's been a while. Check your bloods, do all these other sorts of things. You really want to tighten these things up and eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. If you don't think you're getting enough fat, get more fat. Hamburger is very lean, and you're cooking it out in the air fryer. You might be telling your body that, no, we don't have enough fat. We need to hang on to it. So I don't think it goes the other way. I've seen the exact opposite. I've seen people when they undereat fat, they end up their body ends up being much more loath to give up its own fat. So a lot there to try. Hope that helps and gets you where you want to go. Ebony 814, thank you for the super chat. Mom is in her late 70s with hypertension, HLD, and type 2 diabetes. HLD. I don't know what that means. Wants to try carnivore, but is afraid to stop her pills. Where and how to start that's sustainable. Sister is interested, but no gallbladder. Thank you. So yeah, so all of those things, especially with the hypertension and the diabetes, she doesn't need to stop her pills right away. In fact, she should not stop her pills right away. Go on a carnivore diet and lower them as appropriate, because her blood pressure will likely improve and her diabetes will definitely improve. I don't know what HLD is, but it could very well improve as well. And so if you are seeing improvement on that, you just need to adjust accordingly. So if the blood sugar is getting too low, okay, you don't need as much meds, you don't need as much insulin, you don't need as much, whatever you're taking. And for the hypertension, she starts getting lightheaded, a bit dizzy when she stands up. Check your blood pressure. If that's getting low or on the lower side of normal, she may not need as much of a blood pressure medication. So work with her doctor to reduce that slowly and safely as appropriate, right? And you talk to the doctor, say, hey, I've cleaned up my diet. I'm changing all these things. I'm feeling better. I'm getting lightheaded. My blood sugar is dropping. My blood pressure is dropping. So, I need help to manage these sorts of things. That's what they're there for. That's the only thing they're there for. If they're not able to help that, then you get a new doctor, because they're not helpful, right? You need someone who can help her. But you just start eating meat. You just get into it and get going with it, and then you just monitor and make sure that she's not on too much medication. Then you just reduce appropriately, and should be good. Sister can definitely do this too without a gallbladder. There are tens of thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people doing this sort of thing now. Certainly keto, high fat sort of keto, and now carnivore without a gallbladder. Most people form what's called a pseudo gallbladder, which is an outpouching of the common bile duct. Works exactly like a gallbladder. Stores bile, releases it, or squishes it out when you eat a big bolus of food, and you can absorb a lot of fat that way. If that's not happening and she eats a big meal of fat and she has loose stools shortly after that, then she just needs to reduce the amount of fat that she's eating at one time. She'll still make bile in her liver, but it's just dripping out of her liver constantly. So you just have to eat the same amount of fat and meat, but you just spread it out over the day and allow your body, and so you catch that bile as it's coming out. So that's what you do. A lot of people have done it. A lot of people do great with it. And both your sister and your mom would do very well on this, I'm sure. Kim Mara, thank you for the super chat. My 26-year-old son has Crohn's, infusions every 8 weeks. He has been doing carnivore for a couple of weeks. He's getting a second cold with sore throat since starting. Is he detoxing? Could very well be. Could very well be that he's just, body sort of transitioning and just be a bit more exposed to things just during that transition phase. Just eat a lot of fatty meat and just drink water. The infusions that he gets depress his immune system. So he's much more susceptible to getting sick on those medications. So it could just be a coincidence, could very well just be a coincidence. And he just got exposed to something and his immune system is depressed because of these infusions that he's getting that are designed to depress his immune system. So just keep going with carnivore. Be very, very much on the side of just red meat and water. So beef, lamb, and water. That's what he's going to do best on. Some of these plant toxins that he's reacting to are being fed to the pigs and the chickens. They're not designed to eat that nonsense either. And then those toxins are getting into their meat, and that can get into him, and his body can react to that and have a flare up. So he's going to do best on red meat and water. So beef and lamb and water. And if he does that, he probably won't need to get more infusions. Most people don't have to, but they really do need to be really strict red meat and water for the best results. So good luck to him, and hopefully he gets over his cold soon. Okay, question from Stephen Hadhazi. Thank you very much for the super chat. According to Google, the typical fat percentage for grass-fed beef falls within the range of 15 to 20%. If our ancestors consumed meals with higher fat content, wouldn't it suggest that they would have wasted beef. They did. We know that. So the Plains Indians, or just the Native Americans in general, when they would go hunting and they would hunt, deer and elk and things like that, they'd shoot them, they'd take them down, they'd gut them, they'd leave the entrails, they'd skin them, and they'd cut off the hindquarters and leave them. And that was as I was taught as a kid, that was sort of as an offering to the spirits and a thank you and all that sort of stuff. It's also the leanest part of the animal. And so, yeah, they would leave that. And when you're packing this stuff back in, you only want to be hiking back with, the primest parts of this. If you're on your own and you got to carry back a whole, deer or elk carcass, like it's a lot. You take down a moose, good luck. You're gonna leave what you don't want. And so they would leave the hindquarters. Lions tend to not eat the hindquarters of animals because they're the leanest. Then hyenas come in, they'll eat that because they get down to the bones, and their jaws are strong enough to crack open the bones and get at the bone marrow, which is very fatty. Our ancestors were eating these sorts of things very recently. That's what people need to understand. We moved to cows and bison because they were basically the biggest animals available. And that's because the bigger the animal, the higher the fat percentage on it. We grew up on megafauna. We were eating mammoths, giant sloths, cave bears, these sorts of things. Very high fat, right? Think of the Inuit. They're eating seals and polar bears and whales, right? Very high fat content. That's what we grew up on biologically. So it wasn't until the megafauna died out that we had to start switching to these smaller animals that had less fat. Wasn't enough fat. We needed dairy. We wanted, and some people went to carbs and things like that because they didn't have proper access to this sort of fatty meat. But the Native Americans, they did bison, big old animal, plenty of fat on it, especially the subcutaneous and intra-abdominal sort of fat. They would render that. They'd mix it with the lean meat. They'd make pemmican for the year, and some of that would have been left if it was too lean, and that's what typically the American Indian hunters did. They would cut off the hindquarters and they would leave them. So that's a thing, and you see that throughout nature. But we've had to adapt to that because normally we would be eating megafauna that had a much higher fat percentage. And as that started dying out, that's when you start seeing people baking big femurs and cooking them and then cracking them open, break it open to get the bone marrow. That was very labor intensive. That took a lot of energy and effort to get that stuff out. That's how important the fat was to us. And then when all that wasn't enough, we ended up, cultivating dairy and making butter. That's been so important to human society and civilization for 10, 15,000 years. And that's because we needed more fat. And we weren't getting it as well from the animals because we weren't eating elephants anymore. Not everybody had access to whales, but whaling was a big thing until very recently. That's important. Steve Large, thank you for the super chat. Thanks, Doc. I've never felt better and my body is changing, even if my weight is not. But I'm staying the course. Appreciate your videos. Well, that's great. And think about it. Your body is changing. That means your fat is changing. The weight is not the important thing there. Your health is number one. Your body composition is a distant second. Weight doesn't even make the scale, right? So, no pun intended. So, your body composition is changing. That means you're losing fat and putting on muscle. That means you're losing fat. And so if your clothes are fitting differently, your appearance is changing, you're losing fat, you're putting on muscle. And that's why the scale is not changing. So if you wanted to, you can get, a DEXA scan, a body composition scan, and then check it again in 6 months or a year, or just take pictures in the mirror once a month with your shirt off and just see. That's what I was doing. I lost no weight because I was working out and I was losing fat and putting on muscle. But I was visibly changing. I was like, this is great. I thought it was hilarious that I wasn't losing weight because I didn't lose an ounce, but I didn't gain an ounce. I was 243 on the nose every single day. I would wake up, I'd pee, I'd go on the scale. It's 243 every single day. There wasn't a single day for months that it was 244 or 242. It was 243 on the nose every single day. It was hilarious. But that's not the same thing as body composition. So I'm not looking, oh my God, why isn't my weight going down? I didn't care. I thought I was putting on muscle. I was losing fat. That's what I cared about. I cared about my health. I cared about being athletic. I cared about being able to perform on the rugby field. And so, what it sounds like is that's exactly what you're going through now too, is you're putting on muscle and you're losing fat, which is exactly what you want to do. So good job. Ice cold motivation. Thank you for the super chat. Doctor, how long does nerve damage take to heal? I have multiple sclerosis. I've been 3 months on carnivore, symptoms going down slowly, but not sure if they will eventually plateau. It takes a long time. Nerves take months and months and months to heal and regrow, and it certainly depends on the extent of the damage that you have. But even if your symptoms are going down at all, they're going down. Like, that's amazing. Nothing else does this, right? So just be very thankful for that. Eat very high fat. Very high fat. Don't eat anything else except beef and lamb. Only drink water, and you'll have the best results. Also, check your things like B12, because B12 is required for the myelination of your axons. Most people are low on B12, even when they go on carnivore, because they start out at a very deficient state. In America, you want to be between 1100 and 1600. And that's way off the charts for most labs. Right? That'll say, oh my God, you're too high. It's not too high. It's exactly where you want to be. It's that everybody else is too low, and that's why the reference range is too low. In Australia, in Europe, it's you want to be between 800 and 1200, right? So I would take B12, or maybe just add in some liver, things like that. Check your B12. Most people are so low on B12 and they don't know it because it's in that reference range, but they're actually in a point of critical deficiency where they can actually get demyelination because their B12 is so low. And they have no idea because it's in that normal reference range. The doctor goes, oh yeah, no, that's fine. Bullshit. Oh, the reference range. Oh, that's good. That's what you want. No, that's the average for the patient population at that lab. And that's why every single lab on earth has a different reference range, because it's a different sample of people. That's retarded. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. So it's just because everyone's nutritionally deficient, now no one is? Sorry, they are. And so, we're masking all these deficiencies and these diseases and issues, disorders, I should say, by just changing the reference range. It's stupid. It's really stupid. And so that just needs to go away. So you need to use reference ranges that actually denote actual good health. And the actual range for actual good health in America for B12 is 1100 to 1600. In Australia and Europe, it's 800 to 1200. Right. So that's what you want. And vitamin D. No one has enough vitamin D unless they're eating a lot of animal fat, especially grass-fed fat, grass-fed butter. They're getting out in the sun. So you want enough vitamin D, you want enough B12. I would probably get an injection just to top you up. Add a bit of liver in a couple of days a week at least, and take some vitamin D. 8 to 10,000 IUs of vitamin D. Sometimes they come in combination with K2, totally fine. And just take that for a couple of months and just get your levels up. Make sure that they're up, and then you keep them up with your diet. Almost everybody's deficient when they start a carnivore diet, and especially when you have a health issue like MS. You need to get up to a proper level ASAP. It can take a while, even on a proper diet, especially if you're not eating liver and organs. So just keep that in mind. You can check those, whatever it says, whatever that reference range says, you want to be higher than that, basically, or at least on the upper end of that. For B12, you want to be above it, 100%. But vitamin D, sometimes it goes into the correct ranges, but you want to be on the upper range of that, if not a little higher, for almost all nutrients, basically. So yeah, keep that in mind, but good luck with it. You're already getting better, so that's fantastic. Be really strict. You want to be pure red meat and water, and get enough B12, get enough vitamin D, and you'll do as well as you can. And good luck with that. Morgan French, thank you for the super chat. Last September was diagnosed with hyperthyroid, not Graves', lots of inflammation induced according to the labs. And for plasma pneumonia and long COVID symptoms. Working with a naturopath, can carnivore help calm the hyperthyroid down? Yeah, potentially. It depends on what is causing it. Certainly, autoimmune mediated hyperthyroidism. It does. It does just depend on what's causing it, but inflammation definitely gets reduced by going to a carnivore diet. So it does depend on what causes it, but that certainly can, and it can certainly help with recovering from infections and pneumonias. And a lot of people have actually reported significant improvements with long COVID. So, it's not going to hurt you, and it can definitely help you, and it's going to help you in a lot of other ways as well. And so it's definitely worth trying. Elizabeth Zion, thank you very much for the super chat. Is sleep disturbance normal? I also started walking 12,000 steps a day. Grateful I found you. Breast cancer survival and spinal fusion, T3 to S1 pain-free. Wow, that's a big fusion, and I'm very, very happy that you are not in any pain. That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. And sleep disturbance can be normal for some people. Most people improve their sleep. Some people say that they have to have some carbohydrates or something like that to sleep. You could have some whole milk or raw milk or something like that, a glass of that, and spike your insulin, drop your blood sugar, and zonk out. But then I've also spoken to people that then when they did away from that and just went without any of the carbs for a few days, after a few days, they actually started sleeping better. So I think eventually, if you're really just pure fatty meat and water, that sleep will improve for the vast majority of people. And I think those people that have a bit of sleep disturbances, that eventually they could work through it. But see how you go. Some people feel that they need a bit of carbs, like a glass of milk or something like that, before they go to bed. Most people improve dramatically on it, though. There can be other reasons you can have sleep disturbances as well. So you want to try to remove those sorts of other things, turn lights down, get away from screens and phones and TVs and all that sort of stuff. Wear the blue blocking glasses. That really helps for me. I can be on my phone responding to emails or something like that, and I'm in bed and I'll have those glasses on. And I'll just pass out and just wake up with my phone in my hand. I'm like, oh God, okay, when did that happen? And so that really helps too. You can try things like melatonin, but melatonin only works if the lights are off. And so you need to turn those lights off and then take the melatonin, sort of an hour before you want to be asleep, give it time to work, and those sorts of things. You can try eating a large meal towards the end of the day. That's going to direct blood there. You're going to be a bit more lethargic and tired. You can just naturally go to sleep that way too. So all those things can help, and good luck with it. Hopefully that sorts itself out. And everyone, please do stop with the super chats. I've got quite a number to go, and I don't have all that much time, so I don't want to sort of get into a situation where I'm sort of not able to answer all of them again. Okay. Renee C, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. 40 days in, and last week I woke up 2 different times with heart palpitations. I started a supplement of magnesium, and it seemed to help. Okay, great. Well, that's really good. It is a bit strange, but sometimes if people do have electrolyte disruption, they can get these sorts of things, and you generally have to be pretty low on magnesium to get these sorts of problems, but a lot of people are. And so, if you need a bit of magnesium, it can take months actually sometimes, to even with supplementation, to get magnesium up to proper levels. Do remember that things like caffeine and certainly coffee and tea will strip out magnesium and other minerals from your bloodstream. And if you take them around the time you take those things, or when you eat food, it will stop your body from absorbing them in the first place, and then get in your body and strip out what little you have left. So just keep that in mind as well. But I'm glad that that's helped. And if other people are having that problem, you give that a try. It's always worth trying these things, as long as it's not something that's going to harm you. But magnesium supplement or some electrolytes, and that helps you, great. Usually leg cramps are almost always dehydration, or people taking so many electrolytes that it actually gives them a relative dehydration, even though they're drinking a lot of water. I see it. I had a guy the other day, he was drinking like 6 liters of water a day. But he was taking a lot of electrolytes, and I would bet that it's more to do with taking too much electrolytes than anything else. And so, interested to see what happens to him. But I have certainly seen other people that were playing that game with the water and the electrolytes, and they stopped the electrolytes and just drank, the appropriate amount of water for them, and just drank to thirst. Cramps just went away. So, so that's great. I'm glad that helped. The Bushrangian Order, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Doc. Are advanced lipoxidation end products when cooking with saturated fat a toxic risk? I'm told that when searing meat, that the ghee, tallow, or large smoking is toxic and bad for people's health. Is this true? If it's smoking, it can be released in some of these sort of end products that may not be perfect for you. The thing about tallow, lard, and ghee is that they have a very high smoke point, so you're not gonna get any other fat that is going to do better than that. They have much lower smoke point. Olive oil is just smoking like hell. Butter will smoke quite easily as well, because of like the proteins and the milk solids and things like that are in butter. With those fats, it takes a lot to make those smoke and smoke a lot. A bit of smoke coming up, probably not that big of a deal. But you can always just cook at a high temperature without having it smoke if you're worried about that. We have certainly been cooking fatty meat for hundreds of thousands of years, if not over 1 million or 2 million years. So whatever happens when we cook meat and we cook fat with high heat and smokes up and burns and all that sort of stuff, we're well used to it. So a lot of these things, and I don't know specific research on the advanced lipoxidation end products, but the ones from just other seared meat that they've done is they were done on animals decades and decades ago, and they used tens of thousands of times more of these burnt products than you would get in a burnt piece of meat, right? And they said, "Oh, look, it can increase your risk of cancer." And I'm like, okay, different species, one that has not had cooked meat for millions of years, and using tens of thousands of times the amount of chemicals that you find in that. So, if they were just eating, sort of charred meat every day, would that have ever increased the risk of cancer? Maybe not. And does it? And if it did, it still is not translatable to us who have been eating burnt meat, cooked meat for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. So I don't worry about it too much. But it also has a higher smoke point than anything else. So it's going to be your better option anyway. So super chat from Ellie Melly. That's very nice of you. She says, "Hi, I like the way you cook meat. It tastes like chocolate cake. You're the best always. Also, carnivore clears brain fog and opens your eyes to so many things that you didn't realize were going on around you." Well, thank you very much, sweetie. I'm glad you enjoy my cooking. I enjoy your cooking too, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for saying hi. It's nice that you're watching. It's nice to see you. David Walker, thank you for the super chat. After 60 days on carnivore and 10 days on lion diet, my blood test showed triglycerides of 1937. Doctor tells me to stop carnivore. What should I do? Well, first of all, that's higher than you would expect. That looks like it's an unfasted test. So if you took that test when you weren't fasted, then it's not an accurate test. And I have never in my life seen a triglyceride level that high on a fasted sample. So either that or a lab error. So whenever you get an aberrant sort of test like this, you just test it again, and you test it under the most rigorous sort of settings. Also, you don't know what it was before. If that is accurate, which I really doubt, what was it before you started, right? So that's what you have to do. You can't just tell from one spot point because it's a snapshot in time. You don't know what's going on, right? That's like taking a picture of a crowd and saying and telling everybody, well, this is their job and this is what they did after that and this is what they did before and after that. You don't know. You can't tell, right? So you want to test that again. You want to get more data points. You want to definitely do it fasted, because I would be willing to bet that that was an unfasted test or a lab error. So you just test it again and test it fasted. It matters when and how you take your cholesterol test and your hormonal test and other tests. You have to do it in the same way, at the same time of day, with the same exercise status, the same sexual status, all these sorts of things. First thing in the morning between 8 and 9 a.m. Fasted from the night before 9 p.m. because the longer or shorter you fast changes that number, right? So you want a consistent amount of time fasting between your before your test. Only water after you stop your meal at 9 o'clock. Only water in the morning, but at least 2 glasses of water in the morning, an hour or two before you get your test. No more than 4 glasses of water. So the same hydration status as well. And then you want to stop taking anything with biotin. That's a B vitamin. So stop taking any multivitamins or B vitamins. Food is fine, but just stop taking any multivitamins or B vitamins that contain biotin for 3 days before you take your test. And then don't be stressed out. Get good sleep. Be very calm, sedate, and relaxed leading up to the test. So no stress, no exercise, no sexual activity for a day or two before the test, and certainly the morning of the test. And nothing besides water in the morning. No coffee, tea, pills, anything else like that until after your test at 8 or 9 a.m., right? So you do that more consistently, and you test that again, because that is an incorrect number. Carnivore diet does not raise your triglycerides. So if that's accurate, then your triglycerides were probably about 13,000 before you started carnivore diet. So your doctor is obviously concerned. He's seeing this going like, oh my God, you have to stop. Carnivore doesn't do that. So test your bloods again, and you do it in that way that I just described. I don't think there's a chance in hell that it's going to be over 1,000, let alone 2,000 like it is there. It'll probably be above 100 maybe. But a lot of people after a few months on carnivore drop it down significantly. So it depends on where you were before that. But it would be in a very normal level. Some people with very bad stress or very bad sleep jack up your cortisol. That can raise your triglycerides. I have still never seen triglycerides like that for anybody eating anything ever on a fasted study. I've never seen that before. Just check it again and get multiple data points, because you don't know the trend, and you don't know that that's an accurate test, and I would guarantee that it's not. So I would just do that, and then let us know, and because your doctor needs to know that carnivore does not do that. So understand his concern, but that is not what happens when you go on a carnivore diet. It's the exact opposite. Ron Armando, thank you for the super chat. Third super chat tonight. Can't see them. Doctor says I have fibromuscular dysplasia. Oh, okay. I think it was just a timing thing. Very sorry about that, Ron. It's just the timing of it is such that I was, doing the previous week's super chats, and so there's always a delay. There's always like an hour delay between when I see when the super chat gets posted and when I see it. So I'm very sorry about that. But I did answer that. So if you missed that thing, then scroll back when I did answer that the first time I saw it. Bowers Brew, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. I have an undiagnosed myopathy in proximal limbs for the past few years. Could going carnivore worsen my muscle deterioration? I couldn't imagine how it would worsen it. It may not help it because we don't know what's causing it, but it is definitely worth trying, because there are a lot of things causing proximal muscle weakness that can get help, such as thyroid issues and things like that. But I would check it out. I mean, if it's undiagnosed, but work with your doctor to see if you can get a diagnosis. Starting a carnivore diet's not going to hurt that. I can't think of anything that a carnivore diet would hurt, except maybe your doctor's pride and not understanding how helpful this was. So it would definitely be worth a try. Can it help? Maybe. It depends on what's causing it. So good luck with that. Hopefully that helps. Another thing too, muscle deterioration. So we're talking about muscular dystrophy. This is something that I've been sort of harping on about, but it's really important. Muscular dystrophy exists in cows. It's the same exact disease, presents in the exact same ways, but they were able to figure out that it's actually not a genetic disorder, genetic predisposition, but the environmental trigger is a selenium deficiency. So it's actually called nutritional muscular dystrophy in cows. Has anyone ever asked if our muscular dystrophy was a nutritional deficiency or selenium deficiency? No one checks selenium. No one checks selenium. So, guarantee they haven't checked in these kids. And have they checked other nutrients as well? Maybe it's something else, but maybe it's selenium. Why aren't we checking this? I don't treat muscular dystrophy, so I don't have any kids with muscular dystrophy. But I just a scatter blast out there to all the pediatricians or people that work with pediatricians or know a pediatrician or have kids with muscular dystrophy. Please check. Check their nutritional status and start seeing. Check selenium. Check these other micronutrients, magnesium and zinc and D and B and everything like this. Check everything and check their panels. Understand that the reference ranges are an average for the community and they're not indicative of good health. And so, selenium's fine. It may not be. Figure out, look up what the proper reference ranges are for these things. I talk about them a lot, but they're different for different things, right? So depending on what you're looking for, obviously there's going to be different reference ranges, but you try to find the optimal reference ranges. Basically, high for whatever the reference range is, and a little higher. Too high is actually toxic in selenium, so you don't want to go too high, but higher than their reference range most likely. But whatever the hell the reference ranges you guys use in your units, it's going to be different. So in any case, check. If anyone treats this, please check. If anyone has a family member or is a pediatrician, please write in the comments your experience with this, and please get on people about this, because I would be very curious to find out if there were nutritional deficiencies, because dogs and cats get diabetes for the same damn reason humans do. They get lupus and autoimmunity for the same reason humans do. They're eating the wrong thing. And you start giving other animals in zoos and elsewhere the same wrong things. They get the same wrong things happening to their body that we call diseases. So it's not all that far-fetched that not having enough selenium in a cow causing muscular dystrophy, not having enough selenium in humans could potentially cause muscular dystrophy, and certainly in the genetically susceptible. So just putting that out there. If anybody works with these people in this patient cohort, or works with pediatricians, or is a pediatrician, please ask that question. Please encourage that investigation. And, because that, I mean, how great would that be if we just sort that out? You could start developing that, done, and they don't have to suffer and die and have horrible, horrible lives. Muscular dystrophy is nasty. It's absolutely nasty. So please ask that question, and hopefully someone is able to look into that. I don't have those patients. I wish I did. If I did, I'd be all over it. But we'll see what people can do. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chaffee, for doing this great work. 62-year-old male, 2 months into carnivore, just meat, eggs, butter, recently feeling dizzy getting up. So could very well be that you're on blood pressure medication. If you're on blood pressure medication, it could be too strong now. So 2 months is about that time that you start seeing improvements in blood pressure and those sorts of things. And so if you're on blood pressure medication, most 62-year-olds are on blood pressure medication unless they're carnivore. Could very well be that you're on too much. So check your blood pressure when you get those dizzy spells. If it's low or low normal, there's your answer. Work with your doctor on coming down off of that, and drink more water. It could just be dehydration as well. If you're not on blood pressure medication, or even if you are on blood pressure medication, dehydration can exacerbate that and cause you to get dizzy when you stand up. That's very common. Very common is just that transient drop in your blood pressure. That can be due to dehydration or over medication. So that's probably what's happening. Okay, so Robert, thank you for the super chat. Recently had a blood test, HDL 0.8, LDL 4.5, and triglycerides 8.1. What should I do? Well, I don't know the context of this. So I don't know if you're on carnivore, if you have, or how long you have been, and what your bloods were before. So what I would do is, saying that you're just someone in the community, I would go on a high-fat carnivore diet. I would cut out all sugar, carbs, alcohol, feed oils, cooking oils, avocado oil, whatever, plant oils. Get rid of those nasty things. I'd improve your sleep. I'd improve your stress. I'd get outside in the sun, and I'd check it again in a few months and see how you go. You need data points. You need multiple data points. If you've been carnivore for a while, what were your numbers at before? All right. So you need data points. You need multiple data points. You can plot a graph like you did in school, right? So you can see what the graph looks like and what the trend looks like. So you do those things, you reduce stress, you improve sleep, get outside in the sun, and you eat properly, high-fat meat diet with nothing else, all those numbers will improve, and your HDL will go up, your triglycerides will go down, your LDL will do whatever the hell it wants to do, because we have no clue what an optimal range is for LDL, but I guarantee you it's a hell of a lot higher than they say it is. Yeah, that's what you do. Good luck with that. Nick Sheeson says, Dr. Chaffee, 10 years and 10 days on YouTube. Well done. I don't think I haven't been on YouTube that long. That's when I made my account. So I didn't, I just wasn't like I didn't make this professional account straight away. I just had an account that I used. And so you could leave messages like this, or your name showed up. So I've been using YouTube for 10 years and 10 days, but haven't been posting anything for 10 years and 10 days. I think I'm 2.5 years at this point. I think my first video went up. That was the hard facts about carnivore versus vegan diets, which is still like my favorite video that I've ever done. A bit grainy. I didn't have like an actual camera for it. It was just my computer. It was actually really a pain in the ass too, because the camera's on the bottom of the screen. Like, who does that? So like when you're looking at this thing, it's just looking up your nostrils. So I had to like prop this thing up on books so it could actually be looking at me in the face. It was actually really annoying the way to do that. I actually still really like that video. And I did that. I think I put that out like in, I want to say November of, what would it be? 24, 23, 22, maybe 21? November 21? When the hell was that? Yeah, probably November 21. Weird. All right. So yeah, long time, but not quite 10 years. Goosrapa. Thank you for the super chat. I have short bowel syndrome due to a burst appendix and also have no gallbladder and have a temporary ileostomy. Is meat alone diet okay? Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best thing that you could ever do to your life right now. With your ileostomy, run the experiment yourself. Have some plants, have some vegetables, have some salad. It'll come out into the bag exactly as it entered your mouth. Just chewed up leaves. That's what it's going to look like, and whole pieces of corn and all that sort of stuff. Meat won't even show up in the bag. It will just be liquid. If you don't have a gallbladder, you may have to space out the fatty meals, or else it'll just come out. You won't be able to absorb it without bile. But you may very well have a pseudo gallbladder that has allowed you to carry the same action and function as your original gallbladder would. Short bowel can mean that you have parts of your small intestine taken out, and that can disrupt your absorption. Even more important to get very highly bioavailable, highly easy to absorb nutrients, which is meat, and not eating it with fiber, not eating it with any plants and anti-nutrients. It will stop the absorption and digestion of the meat that you're eating and the plants that you're eating. So, yes, it is not only okay, it is to be recommended, and will give you absolutely the best outcome. You may have to split up your fatty meals because of the gallbladder or lack thereof, but maybe not. You may not actually have to do that. So just see how it goes. If you eat a fatty meal and stuff comes out, very shortly after because of, the fat or whatever, okay, there's your answer. Just slow it down and don't eat as much fat in one go. And you should be fine. You'll be a hell of a lot better off than if you're eating plants. Run the experiment. Have a salad. It'll come out in the same way that it went in, and you'll get nothing out of it. And there's nothing there to absorb anyway. You won't break it down because you're not designed to break it down. And because it's still in the small bowel, it'll still be green, right? It won't even turn brown because the bacteria won't have had a chance to get to it. So yeah, it's definitely better to eat just meat. S. Jack, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Doc. Can you think of any reason why I have more fat on the right side of my body? Also, all joints are clicking, pain, dysfunction on the right side. P.S. Thank you for everything. I feel like you saved me. Well, that's very good to hear. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad that my videos are helping people, and I'm certainly glad that they helped you. I don't know what it saved you from, but I'm very appreciative that my advice was able to help you with whatever your situation was. As far as the more fat on the right side, no, that's actually quite unique. Sometimes you have like a bit of asymmetry, maybe like a love handle that's bigger than the other or something like that. But if it's sort of all over the right side, that's a bit interesting. Your neurological system is completely demarcated. Just a line down the middle of you, and it's just like this is controlled by one side, that's controlled by the other side. So is there some sort of like neurological sort of issue? None that I've heard of. So it may just be how your body's reacting to things, and it may not be that it's all that much different, but it may even out in the course of time as well. But pain and dysfunction on the right side, that's sort of joints clicking. That's sort of totally separate, I would think. But the pain and dysfunction, you sort of wonder, is there something neurologically happening with the left side of the brain affecting the right side of the body? Again, very unlikely, but it's that sort of makes you wonder if there's something going on there. But the joints clicking, that really shouldn't be affected by anything neurological, and certainly not at the level of your brain. So any sort of dysfunction, it does depend on what sort of kind of dysfunction, where the pain is. Is that pain just down your arm, or is it just all over your right side of your body, including your face? Well, that's sort of concerning. That it might be more of a central concern. If it's just down your arm or just down your leg, well, that could be something more down in the spinal root level and be a bit more explained. So, if you're having these sorts of problems, it's certainly not anything to do with just eating meat that I can think of. But, if you're having sort of weird sort of issues and sort of, demarcation on just the right side of the body in such a way that it's like, well, maybe there is something neurological going on. People can have underlying issues that they need to be addressed. So, the most reasonable thing to do would be to, go to your doctor, go to your primary care physician, your GP, and discuss it with them. And they can do a proper history and an exam and see if they think there's any sort of neurological involvement or anything else that they can think of. It's, getting it sort of deep into things in a consultation setting. You can list a lot more information. You can do a physical exam and see like, okay, this is what I think it is. And if they think there's something concerning, they can always get an MRI of your head, see what's going on. But, I would doubt that there's anything that needs to be done. but you never know. So, just go talk to your doctor and see what they think. And hopefully it's just something weird and that it just settles down on its own and goes away. Cami Joy, thank you for the super chat. History of APS, used heparin during pregnancy, diagnosed osteo maybe, in 30s after compound fracture hiking. So osteoporosis, I'd say, after compound fracture from hiking and kickboxing. Calcium and vitamin D are a concern. Any thoughts on bone health? Yeah, well, my thoughts are that generally people's bone health improves. And so I've seen people with osteoporosis in their late 30s, 40s, and elderly adults actually reverse their osteoporosis. I just had a patient come in a couple of weeks ago, and she had osteoporosis when she started carnivore. Now she does not have osteoporosis. It's been like 8 months, right? And she's in that normal range for bone density. And she went into her clinic, and the osteoporosis nurse was super excited. She got her results. She said, "Oh my God, this is amazing. What drug did they put you on? What did this?" And she said, "Nothing. I'm not on any drugs." And they said, "Well, how did you do this then? I mean, drugs have to do this. Nothing. Your body just doesn't do this. Your body can't heal. It needs drugs." And so she said, "No, I'm just basically just eating a lot of meat. In fact, I'm just only eating meat." And this happened, and the nurse was just like, "Wow, I've never seen that happen. That's amazing." So it is something that I've seen again and again. I had a lady on the podcast, Claire, who had been anorexic and vegan, sort of synonymous in a lot of cases, and she was had osteoporosis, like profound osteoporosis, BMI of like 9, and so it got to the point that she actually arrested in the hospital and almost died. Was basically forced to eat meat after that. It's like, no, you have to eat properly. You're going to die. And then she ended up, just sort of surviving for a year, but eating some meat, but not all that much. And then she went carnivore, and now she's thriving. She put back on all the weight. She put on a lot of weight, and she, reversed her osteoporosis. Amazing that your body can do that. So just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Sometimes when people are deficient, like she was eating 8,000 calories of ribeye every day, right? It's more than I eat. But her body needed it. Her body was recovering and repairing and growing like a kid would, right? And so she needed a lot of that. She needed a lot of those nutrients. And so, if you feel you're deficient in things like vitamin D or calcium, you could try taking that. I would maybe take vitamin D and K2 before I took calcium. Just start eating a lot of meat. You get enough calcium from that. Women taking calcium can actually increase there are studies that have reported a correlation in increased cardiovascular disease by 15% in women who take calcium supplements. So maybe not something you want to do. So yeah, I would just eat fatty meat. And if you're deficient in vitamin D or you're deficient in calcium, like sure, maybe take a supplement, but when you get up to a normal level, stop. And vitamin D, you can take vitamin D very safely to try to catch up to where you're at. And then fatty meat and a bit of liver will sort you out the rest of the way. So yeah, and resistance training, resistance exercises, strength training that stimulates the bones to grow and to build and put down more bone tissue and density. The majority of bone is collagen. So that's what you need. You need the collagen from meat, and you'll get plenty of calcium from the meat that you're eating. Think about it this way. When mammals are kids, they drink milk. There's a lot of calcium in milk. Where did the mom get the calcium? From their food. So a lion is getting calcium from meat to make calcium-rich milk for their babies, right? But then those babies wean off the mother's milk onto the mother's diet, which is meat, right? They're still kittens at that point, right? Now they're eating meat, and that's where the majority of the bone growth is happening is when they come off and start eating the adult diet. And so there has to be enough calcium in there. It's a matter of how your body uses that calcium. And are you eating a whole bunch of oxalates and phytates and all these other sorts of anti-nutrients that are going to strip out the calcium and make you need an overwhelming abundance of calcium to get the job done in the first place? That's a question you have to ask. So good luck with that. Just eat meat and be happy. Lift weights and you'll be healthy. Good luck with it. Nav, thank you for the super chat. I think we already did this. That was a question from earlier. You say you change fat intake if you have diarrhea on a carnivore, but the advice I usually find is wait because you're getting fat adapted. Well, no, if you're not absorbing it, you're not absorbing it. So you don't necessarily need to have that. The fat adaptation, people mean a lot of different things by that. Really what fat adaptation means is your body's getting used to running on ketones and it's getting more efficient at running on ketones. It's not fat adapted as in you can absorb fat. You can absorb fat. That's not a problem. It's just you have a limited capacity to absorb fat because of the amount of bile that you have and that you make. And so if you are making a certain amount of bile, your body's going to absorb a certain amount of fat. If you're eating a lot more fat than that, it's going to go out, it's going to give you loose stools. And so you don't have to do that. Eventually you might make more bile. And so you want more fat. And so adjust the amount of fat that you're getting for that time. But also if you're drinking coffee or tea or artificial sweeteners or magnesium supplements or medications like metformin or others, that can cause loose stools as well. And when you stop eating fiber, that can shove this stuff through very quickly and cause loose stools. And so that can mask that. So that's not that you wouldn't reduce your fat content in that situation. You would eliminate out all those other things. You only reduce your fat content if you are not eating anything else, eating or drinking anything else besides meat and water. And then if you're so constipated that you are getting a bit of over, sort of a pseudo obstruction, you get overflow diarrhea, and then you get liquid stools with hard stools every now and then. And that means you need a lot more fat. So yeah, but I answered that also before, but that's the quick one as well. Kenny put down a super chat, but wasn't a question attached, but thank you very much, Kenny, for that. So now this is from Nem 8685, and this will be the last super chat, everyone, because I have to run after this. That's sort of got through all of them, but please don't put any more because I can't answer after this. Hello, doctor. I experienced chronic air hunger, multiple doctors, multiple tests, all said anxiety, and have me on anxiety meds. Someone told me to try keto. Any thoughts? The anxiety meds calm me down, but don't cure the problem. It's very hard to say. The sort of that panting, gasping, that sort of thing can certainly be from like panic attacks, anxiety. And we do have more and more trials now with other sort of mental health issues, such as major depression, but also severe anxiety and even OCD, bipolar, and schizophrenia that are improved dramatically by ketogenic diets. And I find even more so in carnivore ketogenic diets. So full on just getting rid of all plants. Dr. Chris Palmer has written books on this, is doing studies on this. Dr. Jordan Eid has done the same. And so they have both shown, they're both Harvard-trained psychiatrists, that that diet is the main factor for these sorts of mental health issues, and including crippling anxiety. And there are a lot of people that have found that as well. Maybe someone in the chat or in the comments can discuss their experiences with this as well. But people like Jordan Peterson had crippling anxiety and depression, even went on keto, and he reversed a lot of issues, improved his autoimmune issues, and lost weight and improved all these other sorts of things. But it wasn't until he dropped the salads that his anxiety and depression went away. So it was a massive, massive improvement. And so it's definitely worth a shot. I definitely think that it's well worth the effort, and especially to get the hell away from medications and not have to use them. So good luck with that. High fat, lots of high fat meat, and avoid everything else, and you'll do great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate that. A lot of great questions today. I'm glad we were able to get through the ones from last week as well. Thank you, everyone, for the new questions also. And I will have a premiere going on tomorrow around the same time with my friend Andrew Gerard, who is actually quite a famous magician. He was on Chris Angel's Mind Freak show and helped with that for years, and is a producer in TV and documentaries and Netflix specials and things like that. And he's also just a professional magician. And has a new show coming out as well. And so he talks about his journey with vegetarian veganism, and now being carnivore and feeling thousands of times better, and actually does some close-up magic on the camera. I could not figure out how the hell he did this stuff. You're going through like times of the video, right? And I'm clicking through like frame by frame, like how the hell did he do this? Can't tell. You just can't see. It was live. None of this was recorded after the fact and edited. It was freaking live, and you even see my face when like, God damn it, how the hell did he do that? It was really, really well done. And so I'll be doing a premiere of that at 9 a.m. my time Thursday morning, which would be 9 p.m. East Coast time in America and 6 p.m. Pacific time in America. So please do join me for that premiere, and try to get this as hyped up as possible, because the more people that are on the premiere, the more people commenting and liking and sharing, the better this does, and the algorithm picks it up, and it is very successful. So it's very helpful whenever anybody, when everyone's able to come out for the premieres and interact. It's also just fun. I'm always there in the chats as well, and in the sort of the text chats that goes on while we're watching it, because it's pre-recorded, obviously, and it's great. It's a lot of fun, and this one in particular is very fun. So it's something that I think you'll all really enjoy a lot. And hope to see you there. And then we'll be back for another live on Friday, I believe. No, maybe not. Might be able to do like an hour on Friday, but I'll keep you posted, because I've got sort of an interview and some things that morning, but I'll post it anyway if I'm able to do it. And I just have to sort of figure that out, because I think I have I'll sort it out anyway, and I'll post that up if I'm able to do it. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.